Hey guys, welcome back. In this lecture, we will discuss about a practical problem that is recreating flatten method in Ruby using recursion. We all know that Ruby provided number of inbuilt methods for array to write our code in fast and simple manner. For example, to get the minimum and maximum element from the Ruby array, you can simply use min and max method rather than implementing these methods from scratch. And these are just example, and there are many such methods. And flatten is one of such methods. So what flatten does? So the flatten method returns a new array that is a recursive flattening of itself, where each non-array element is unchanged, each array element is replaced by its individual elements. Or in other words, you can say that the flatten method will be applied on a multi-dimensional array and it returns you the single dimension array or one dimension array. Okay, so the question I asked was how to recreate the flatten method. Now to solve this problem, let's think in an algorithmic way. So we know that when we think about the algorithmic way, what we need, that first we need to decide our input, then output, to store, then output variable to store the output result. Okay, and then we need to write some procedure or steps that will perform the desired outcome, and then at the last we just need to call that procedure. Okay, so we will do the same thing here. The input, first step that we need to do, that we need an array that we need to flatten, and the second step that we need an empty array where we will store the output, and the third step is we need to write a method that will accept the given array as argument, and the last step we need to call the implemented method or our procedure to get the flattened array. Now let's solve this practically. So first open to any text editor where you can write a Ruby file. So first create a Ruby file and name this file as, let's say, flatten.rb, flatten.rb. Okay, and in this file what you need to do, first you need to define the input array. Okay, or the array which is not one dimensional by default. So let's define that array. So array is equal to 1, and then define the other element 3 4. Okay, and then 5, and here you need to define another element as array, that is 6 comma 7 comma 8 comma 9, and here you just need to provide 10. Okay, now what flatten will do, so flatten will convert it into the one dimensional array. For example, first let's try this way. So print array dot flatten. Okay, save this and now switch to the terminal where you can execute this file. So ruby flatten.rb. Okay, so here you can see that it gives me the one dimensional array when I invoke the flatten method on my input array. So you can see on the output that it is returning 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Although this element does not has the 10 element, but after flattening it result each element as individual element here. Okay, now we need to define some output variable as well. Okay, where we can store the result. So we can simply use results equal to a blank array. Okay, now as the third step we need to implement the procedure that will recursively flatten this array. Okay, so we can name our method as, let's say, flatten array. Okay, and this should have some argument. Okay, because we need to invoke our procedure or our method on some, with some arguments. Okay, so argument what we can provide here. So our first argument will be the input array that we want to flatten, and then results. Okay, its default value must be the empty array. Okay, and then just end this method. And now after closing this method, what we need to do as the next step, since we are trying to flatten the array, I mean we are just converting the given array into a one dimensional array. So what we need to do, we need to iterate through the input array. Okay, and in iteration we need to check whether every element is array or not. If the element is array, then we need to recursively call this flattened array method. If it is not, then we need to store into results. Okay, so what we can do here, if, sorry, not if, first iterate the array dot each do, and here element, and this. And now here we need to check whether this element is an array or not. So if element dot is a array, Okay, if this condition true, then what I said previously, that we need to call this method recursively. Okay, so what we can do here, flatten array and then call it with the element and then results. Okay, and then else, if the given element, if the current element is not an array, then we just need to store it into results. So element. Okay, that is done, and now at the last we just need to return the results. Okay, so this is returning our results. So let me explain that what this method do again. So here you can see that I defined a method with name flattened array, and what it is doing, that it is accepting two argument, array and results, which where results has the an empty array by default value, and then we are iterating the array elements. Okay, and then in each iteration we are checking that if the current element is a array, then we are recursively calling this function. Here you can see at line number 8 that what I'm doing here, that I'm recursively calling this method. If it is not an array, then I'm storing the current element into the results. Okay, so our procedure has been done, and now what we need to do, that we just need to store the flattened array or one dimensional array into our results variable. So what I can do here, flatten array and then simply call it with array argument. Okay, however I'm not providing any results here. Why? Because results is the default value in the flattened array, which is initialized as an empty array. Okay, and now you need to just do print results. Okay, so just to save this file and go to the terminal and run your program again. So ruby flatten.rb, and here you will see that we are getting exactly the same output that the flatten method does. Like we are getting a one dimensional array with 10 elements where values are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and that's it. This is the recreation of the flatten method. Okay, so again let's consider again let's take a review that what we did. We first get an input array. Okay, so interviewer might provide you some input array. Okay, and then you need to define a empty results variable, and then you need to write your recursive procedure or recursive method to flatten this array, and then you can store it into the output variable, and then you can print. Okay, you can see that this is a very basic and simple to solve problem, but these problems cover multiple aspects of your skills, like your algorithmic approach, your thought process towards solving a problem, knowledge of programming languages like iterators, recursion, logic building, and so on. Okay, so try this at your end and wait for the next question. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.